And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here, and today I'm going to show you a game that I'm really excited about. This is an upcoming Essen 2011 release called Colonial, Europe's Empires Overseas, by Christoph Pont from Eurogame Games. This is a game for 3 to 6 players that plays in about 2 hours, and really follows the theme of Europe's expanding empires, of discovering the Americas, discovering parts of Asia and settling parts of Asia, Africa, and so forth and so on, that uses themes or mechanics of area control, resource management, and role selection, and the real goal of the game is to get to 10 victory points before anyone else. So with all of that said, why don't we take a look at what comes inside this box, how you can expect the game to play once you can pick it up from Essen here in a couple weeks, and what my thoughts are on the game as a whole. Each player in Colonial is going to have their own board, which represents their money, resources, naval fleet, merchant fleets, and points. In addition, each player is going to have a set of tokens that look like this, and they're going to have colony markers, and then multiplier tokens for situations where they have too many of their colored tokens on the board. Tokens, when placed in the treasury, will represent the player's money. Tokens placed in the merchant fleet box represent merchants available for transporting goods from explored areas to the market. And tokens placed in the naval forces box represent your military that can protect your merchants while shipping goods. Opponent's tokens placed on your board, such as the orange one on this player's board, represent privateers, which may attack merchants before they have the chance to ship goods. In doing so, the player will roll a die prior to the merchants being able to ship goods. This will be a special die with blank and success faces. They will roll the die, which will either show a blank face or a success. A success will destroy one merchant, while a blank face has no effect. After privateers have had a chance to destroy merchant fleets, a player's naval forces will have a chance to destroy any privateers on their board. They will roll one die for each naval force on the board in order to try and destroy privateers. Any successes will destroy privateers, while failures will not. The goal of the game is to accumulate 10 victory points, filling your victory point track as you go. The rest of Colonial is played out over this beautiful board, this map board, which is one of the best that I've ever seen. And this represents the world as it was known during colonial times. Throughout the board you'll see representations of Africa, South America, North America, Europe, and Asia, as well as Australia, and several tracks which represent different types of technology advancements that you can make throughout the game. Areas of the board will be represented as small segmented spots. For example, you can see Africa here with several resources, different resources being placed in different areas. You can see that the resources are color-coded. So for example, we have an orange resource of wheat here, or a black resource which represents slaves. Individual areas will also have different information on them. For example, South Africa here has a difficulty of 4 and has 3 native forces present. This will be important for different actions taken throughout the game. The diplomacy track, located at the bottom of the board, will represent the ability of players to wage war on other players. A player's position on the diplomacy track will represent whether or not they may attack somebody based on how advanced their civilization is. For example, if the orange player is to the furthest right on the track, and the green player is one spot below them, the orange player may wage war on the green player, but the green player is unable to wage war on the orange player. As I mentioned, there are several tracks throughout the board representing different advancements that you can do using a scientist action throughout the game. Here we can see the economy track, which will determine how many goods you may sell from the market to your own board in order to earn treasury. You will start out on the 2 position, and through using the scientist action may pay treasury in order to advance along it. On the board you can see 2 spots that will represent the ability to possess either of these 2 purple or green resources, and on space 10 you can see that at this point players will no longer be able to control and sell slaves. The second track is the logistics track, which represents the ability of a player to place some of their treasury out onto the board as control for a good. At the beginning you may only use the Viceroy action to place 1 of your treasury onto the board onto a previously explored and controlled good. But as you use the scientist action to advance this technology, you'll be able to place 2, 3, or 4 of your treasury onto the board to influence a goods control. The Navy track represents a player's ability to transfer treasury to the Navy portion of their player board to make more military in order to defend their merchant fleets. Again, at the beginning, you may only use one at a time, but as you advance it with the scientist, you may use more to advance to your Navy fleet. The last track on the board is the seafaring track, which reduces the difficulty of exploring new regions by reducing the amount of pips you need on a die roll to explore a new region. The region's difficulty to explore is determined by the difficulty number that I showed you previously. Each turn in Colonial will follow a specific phase order, which is represented in the center of the board. First players will choose actions, then they will make merchant fleets, adjust the first player, make new naval forces, send privateers, and then finally pay interest on loans. Each turn, players will have a hand of 6 cards, which they will be able to use in order to take actions. On the turn, players will take 4 of those cards and lay them out in the order that they would like to activate them. In turn order, each player will then reveal their first card and take one of the 2 associated actions on that card. After each player has taken those actions, they will reveal their second card and take one of the 2 actions from that card. And they will continue doing this until all 4 cards have been revealed. After that, they will be able to choose an action from one of their final 2 remaining cards in order to take that action based on what has happened on the board from the previous 4 actions. Each player has the same 6 cards, and each card will show 2 roles. One of the cards, for example, here shows the Scientist and the Missionary. The Scientist will allow you to pay treasury from your player board in order to advance on one of the progress tracks that I showed you previously. The Missionary will allow you to flip unrest tokens, which look much like this, to their other side, showing a missionary side. Unrest tokens allow rebellion to happen in areas that players control based on another one of the actions, while missionaries prevent that rebellion from happening. The Explorer action is going to allow you to explore new areas on the board based on a die roll and on particular bonuses from areas you control and your seafaring status on the seafaring track. You will roll a d6 and compare it to the difficulty of the area you're trying to explore. If you exceed the difficulty of the area you're trying to explore, you may place a marker from either your merchant fleets or your treasury on the good in that area in order to exhibit control over that spot. The Ambassador action allows you to advance any player's token 1 space to the right on the diplomacy track, making them more advanced and more difficult to wage war against. The Viceroy is going to allow you to move treasury from your board onto an already explored resource on the general map board. This will allow you to wrest control of that resource from somebody else by having more control markers on the spot than they do. So for example, using the Viceroy action, the orange player could place 2 treasury, if their logistics level was at 2, onto this spot that green currently controls. In doing so, they would have more tokens there than green and would gain control of the resource. The Rebel is going to allow you to incite rebellion on places that have unrest markers. If a place has this unrest marker, you can incite rebellion and roll dice in order to try and remove players' tokens from a resource on that spot. Successes will allow you to remove tokens, while failures will result in no effect. This can change the overall control of a resource based on what tokens are left over. The Merchant will allow you to ship goods from controlled areas into the market, where they will later be available for sale to put treasury into a player's personal board. Goods can be shipped from areas that are controlled either by yourself or by your opponents, and shipping for your opponents will benefit both you and them. The Governor is going to allow you to spend treasury in order to place a booming city on the board in a place where you have already established a colony, which is an area that only you may place discs into. A booming city is going to earn you an extra victory point and allow you to produce double goods in that spot anytime that you ship to the market. The Trader is going to allow you to move goods from the market to your player board into your treasury spot. This is going to be your main way of earning treasury. You may ship goods equal to your economy on the economy track, plus the number of native forces in colonies that you control. The financier is going to allow you to take loans, which must be repaid at the end of the game. You will take 10 loan and put 10 money onto the loan spot of the board. Each time the interest comes around, if you have any unrest markers on the board, you are going to add additional discs to your loan that must be paid back later. The sovereign is going to allow you to wage war on another player who is less advanced or equally advanced as you on the diplomacy track. I'm not going to cover war in detail because there's too much to go into, but war is waged on 4 fronts: land, treasuries, naval forces, and in the market. Whoever has the most advanced or most tokens in all of these places is most likely to win the war, but success is based on dice roll using those special dice that I showed you earlier. The conqueror allows you to place a colony on one territory, as long as your amount of tokens on the resources in that territory are equal to or greater than the number of native forces there. Forming a colony will earn you a victory point and advance your success towards ending and winning the game. There are several ways of earning victory points in Colonial. The major way of earning victory points is going to be exploring new regions, and each region that gets explored will have a victory point marker in it. Anytime you explore a region on the board, you are going to take the victory point and place one of your counters on a good in that region, or on the good in that region, indicating control. This good can either come from your treasuries, which will cause unrest and place an unrest marker in the territory, or from your merchant fleets, which will simply give you control. Victory points can also be earned for the first circumnavigation of the globe, and that will be achieved by achieving a 6 difficulty on an exploration roll. This will give you 2 bonus victory points and significantly advance you towards winning the game. Additionally, there is a victory point available for the first successful exploration of an American space. So the first person to successfully explore America, which at the beginning of the game have an increased 2 difficulty to their exploration, will earn a victory point towards winning. Placing a colony onto the board, when you have as many counters on the board as you do native forces in the area, using the Conqueror action will allow you to earn 1 more victory point. Making an area or a colony into a booming city using the Governor action is worth 1 more additional victory point. In order to do this, you must pay treasury equal to the level of the booming city that you're building, and there may only be 1 booming city at a time. If you lose the booming city or a colony, you lose the victory points for that particular position. The final way to earn victory points is by winning a war. For example, if green were to attack orange and either player was to win, forcing a surrender of the other player, the winning player would take 1 victory point from the losing player and place it onto his board. So that's Colonial, Europe's empires overseas. And what can I say about the game? Well, I really enjoyed it, although I think it's going to shine more with more players rather than less. With more players, I think you'd see more competition over the easier areas to settle, you'd see more competition over shipping goods and selling them back to your treasuries, and you would just generally see more warfare happening. With fewer players or with less vicious players, you're going to see less competition and the game's not going to shine as much. I like the fact that you're exploring and trying to advance your empire, racing towards the end of achieving 10 victory points. I really like the way the game plays out, but for people who really dislike dice or have terrible luck with dice, they're probably not going to enjoy it their first time through, or maybe at all. Anyhow, if you like empire expanding games, if you like civilization or resource management types of games, or even just you like exploring, you're going to love Colonial. I would suggest that anybody who is really excited about this year's Essen releases and likes a medium to heavier weight Euro with a civilization or exploring type of aspect to check out Colonial. I think it's going to be a great hit for this Essen 2011 season.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio, and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.